Hey guys,
What's up,
thank
everyone?
you so much for joining us today to talk all about September. We have so much that we're going to be talking about today. I feel like we're going to struggle to get everything in an hour, and I'm sure y'all are going to have so many questions as well. So I'm super excited to welcome you to another Tuesday where we have fun and join together and talk gardening and all of that. So Dale and I are here together in Zone 7 in Oklahoma City. And I'm inside and he is out there in our garden today.
Yeah, we thought we'd try something new. So instead of us sitting next to each other in there, I'll be the garden correspondent, if you will, and we can show some of the stuff we're talking about. And if there's anything y'all want to see in our garden, just kind of a bit of an overview of what we got going right now. Love our zinnia patch right now. Check out these zinnias. We just harvested some. Was it yesterday? We did that,
It was
and we've
yesterday. Yeah, and
already.
I have some in the background right here too.
Yeah, and then look at all these. This is Carrie's favorite one right here. Which one? What's that one
Yes.
called? The
Um
Dreamland.
yes, Dreamland Zinnia because they're huge. They're like the size of your palm. Like they're
Look at
huge
that.
compared to the other zinnia sizes. Like they're just monstrous and they're so pretty. I love them.
Yeah, we are loving these zinnias right now because it's been a tough summer. I mean, we've got some stuff that's doing really well. Like we got these tomatoes here and basil, and we've got this wall of cherry tomatoes. But we've also had some struggles, and the zinnias have really been awesome because we've been getting so many of those. Between that and the peppers and the tomatoes, we've been harvesting so much stuff. We've been canning so many things, a lot of peppers and tomatoes and stuff. So if there's anything y'all want to see more of, let me know. I'm here the garden correspondent today. So
Well, so I assume someone's asking about how close we spaced them. So if you're talking about the zinnias, so we took like each square foot and I just did rows and I threw a bunch of seeds out. So I didn't actually do like square foot gardening spacing or anything like that. I just kind of sprinkled them in a line. And I did that every foot and I did a different variety each foot across. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it is definitely a beautiful day for us to be out in the garden. Well, I'm not out there, but Dale is. And hi from Moore. Yeah, that's right next door to us.
that's where I
It
grew up.
is beautiful weather. Beautiful weather here.
You got the
It's
windows open
amazing.
behind you at least.
Yes, I have some nice cool air coming in. I say cool, but I mean 80s. Yeah, that's cool for us. Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump in and talk about what we're going to be doing in September because we have already started a lot of work in our garden for getting ready for everything we're doing in September. And we've got a whole list of stuff that we're going to be sharing about. So this is our favorite time of the year to grow.
Hold on. Before we
Okay.
dive into September, last week we talked all about preservation. And so every week we do a giveaway where we have a topic that we talk about. Last week was preservation, and we did a giveaway last week, and then we have one through the week that we announced today. So I wanted to announce the winner from last week's really quick. Let's see. Let me pop that up really quick. We
And you
have
can enter, oh,
Yep,
Jody
congratulations,
Davis.
Jody Davis. Yay! She joined us on the replay and entered with this comment, and she was selected. Yay!
So if you're watching this video after the fact, you can enter a contest as well. We have two contests going. One that's going during this live stream that you can enter just by putting something in the chat right now. And then you can also enter for the next week by commenting on the video on YouTube after it's posted there. So there we go. There's the banner.
I did it.
All right.
So Dale's usually controlling all of this stuff, but he's out in the garden today, so I'm trying to. I'm taking over all of this stuff, so bear
You're
with
doing
me.
great.
I'm going to
All
be a lot
right.
slower.
And let's talk about what you win with the contest. So we've got a slide for that, right? You want to pull that up?
Yeah.
All right. So what we're giving away is a free premium 1 year subscription to the Seed to Spoon app. So you get all those things listed over on the right. You get unlimited plants. You get the ability to take a picture of things in your garden, and it'll tell you what's going on and how to help it. You get the ability to track everything in your garden. You get free shipping on all of your purchases through our Park Seed store within the app as well.
That's
For
huge.
yearly subscribers, yeah. So that's what someone's going to win today, and then someone will win next week that comment on this video after the fact too. So okay, well, let's talk about September because I'm excited. This is our favorite time of the year to
Yes.
garden, for a number of reasons. Number one is the temperatures are starting to cool down. There's always that, like in the spring, it's that race to how soon is it going to get to 100 around here where we live. So having the fall temperatures coming in, and like right now, it's like you're not going to get out of the 80s for like the whole week. So that's just awesome. We've been spending a lot of time in the garden. And the cool thing about a lot of things we're going to talk about today is they taste better the deeper into the winter that we get and into the fall. So um, yeah, there's also fewer bugs in the fall. It's just a much better time to grow a lot of the things we like to eat. We're gonna have like spinach and lettuce galore from October through January. And I'm gonna see if we can push it all the way through. I'm gonna build like a cold frame this year to see if we can have lettuce and spinach like all the way through the winter this year. But definitely starting in October, we're gonna start having some. Um, yeah, let's jump in. We'll talk about uh,
So
what
things
we
that
got to
we're
do here.
doing to get ready. I mean, we're doing a lot of things out in our garden to prepare it. One of the biggest things I know Dale can probably show us that we're doing is trying to get a handle on our weed situation, which is something amazing to do this time of year because it's starting to cool down. You can kind of get a hold of if you had any weed issues or things like that. You can kind of do a little bit of cleanup. But we had a lot of weeds that we had to deal with. So Dale had some fun. He went through and like torched some areas. And then we also laid down this really heavy duty black plastic. We did this, but we didn't do it like on the perimeter. Like we didn't go far enough, and we ran out of time. And we're like, okay, we just need to start planting. And then we're like, oh, we regretted that immediately. So we're going through. I mean, this is a great time of year to try to get a handle on any weeds or anything like that.
And we also torched these raised beds too. So I took our propane torch and came through these raised beds that we had a ton of pest issues with,
Wash bugs.
and
Oh,
yeah, and we torched those as well. So I've still got some work to do. See, we've still got some weeds around here and stuff, but I mean, you're gonna have those this time of year. At least we are. We're not able to avoid them. So, but yeah, just doing a lot of cleanup and getting ready. We're at the point now where we're gonna get a lot of compost and start bringing it in and then adding it to the raised beds. So we'll till in. I say till in. That's not. We're not going to use a tiller. We're going to work it in with like a shovel, like the top 2 to 3 inches or so. We'll add in a layer of compost and then work that in. So we'll do that in all the beds. We have goats, so we're going to go like scoop up a bunch of where they've been hanging out that has a lot of their remnants, if you will, and bring that in, spread it around, do a lot of that kind of stuff too. So, um, so what torching is going to do is it's going to kill off a lot of the eggs that are left because whenever you have these bugs that set up shop, sorry, the rooster is not cooperating. So whenever you have a lot of bugs that are setting up shop in a raised bed, what they're going to do is they're going to lay their eggs there in hopes you're going to plant that same crop again. So going through and using a propane torch and just kind of spraying everywhere will have a big impact on that. So, and also with weed seeds, things like that, it'll just help kill off a lot of the stuff like that and just prevent a lot of issues. Yeah, so we have a propane torch that you get it like we got like ours on like Tractor Supply, and you hook it up to a propane bottle, and it's legit. I mean, like it means business, but it's super handy. I know we have some videos showing it. I don't think we posted one in a bit, but we could post another one. But basically, you just get that, and you just go over. It's like I'm painting the garden is how I feel when I'm doing it. I'm just like going over every square inch of the bed for just a second. You don't want to hover there too long. You don't want to like burn the wood or burn too much. Like, you're just toasting the top layer of it basically. So um, like I said, I'm just going through for like a second or two over like I'm just like wafting over it back and forth is basically what I'm doing. Hopefully, does that make any sense, Carrie? Am I
Yeah,
explaining that?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. It's like painting, but with fire.
Okay, what about those that don't have a torch?
There's other methods you can do for something like this. So what other people do is what they call solarize a raised bed, where you can cover a raised bed with black plastic or with even a clear plastic, and then use the heat from the sun to let the sun do some of this work for you. That takes some time though, and it takes the summer really. So if you were going to do that, you do that like you could probably still do it this time of year if you're in Oklahoma. It'll be hot enough to do that, but that's a longer way of doing this process as well. And you don't necessarily even have to do this. It's just these are the areas where we had a ton of pest issues, and um, I was one of the ways that I kind of handle weeding in the garden is going around and just torching it because it makes it to where the weeds don't come back. Is like that plant is dead once you torched it, so you're not dealing with a lot of regrowth and stuff like that. So it's just with the size of gardens that we have, it's just the most convenient way for me to keep all the weeds down. Is just to go through, and plus I get to play with fire, so I mean that's always a fun thing. I'm not.
Well, and plus getting rid of those diabolical squash bugs. I'm sure everybody can agree with me how horrible they are.
Yeah, and
Like
I have to
nothing
mention
but
like
fire.
you do want to be like you don't want to be indiscriminate about this because there are like beneficial bugs that are also laying their eggs too. So I'm not going to be doing this around a plant that I know is a host for one of them, or there are some considerations you want to take there too. So
Yeah. Okay, we got a question about the weed suppression here.
yeah, this is a great method. Whenever we lived in the city, we laid down a layer of cardboard and then about a foot or two of wood chips to cover it all. And that completely stopped our Bermuda issues. Where we are now, it was going to take a lot of effort to get that amount of cardboard. So that's why I didn't do that here. And I really wanted to experiment with some large scale growing tactics that I've seen from like small farmers use, where they use these heavy duty black liners and then they either use like fabric raised beds like smart pots like I'm using, or they just drill holes directly in it and plant. Like I've been watching a lot of that stuff, so I'm wanting to like try some of those ways of growing because we're kind of going off the deep end with zinnia farming. I think by next year we're gonna be a full scale zinnia farm because both Carrie and I are just OCD collectors of seeds and plants, and we're going off the deep end with zinnias. And now the kids are getting involved. If you've seen our Instagram, we've got our 2-year-old out there helping me pick flowers every morning.
Oh my
She's
gosh,
so
she
good
wants to
at
go
it.
out there every day. She gets so excited. I say, "You want to go
Yeah,
outside to the garden?" She's like, "Yeah." She goes and gets her shoes. She goes running out there.
yeah.
She loves to.
We go get our bouquet every morning, and she's down at the same height as the vase, so it's nice. I just cut it and pick the leaves off and give it to her, and then she goes and puts it in the vase. So we've got a nice little teamwork situation going. But I digress. What I'm trying to say is like we needed a ton of space, um, and that's why I didn't go with the cardboard and wood chip method this time. But that's what I recommend for 99% of people, um, is to just start by laying down cardboard and wood chips where you want to have a garden, and then putting a raised bed on top of that. You're going to have the least amount of issues with weeds if you do that. Yes, we're going to add compost to all the smart pots as well too. So same thing. It'll be like 2 to 3 inches of compost at least into there, and work it in. Now, a lot of our smart pots, whenever we turn them over, like from season to season, what I do is I'll kind of dump them out into a big gorilla cart and then dump in like a whole bucket of compost and like work that in. Um, so that is one thing I do different. Like with our raised beds, I'm not doing that with any of that stuff. But with the smart pots, I'm kind of always like, because like I'll have some smart pots where like it had like too heavy of a mix of vermiculite versus another one, so I'm always kind of reconstituting it, and um, yeah, so it's a little different how I handle my smart pots. But we definitely are adding compost and also other fertilizers too. So now's the time that we're going to add in more espoma, organic fertilizer granules into smart pots, into raised beds, and work that kind of stuff in. I mentioned having the goats and all of that, so I've got that advantage of those organic ingredients. If you don't have that going on, then you could get rabbits. That's one thing we did when we lived in the city is we had giant rabbits because our thought process was the big rabbits make the most amount of poop, and they did. And we had a lot of rabbit poop that was great in the garden. So
That's
you have a
great.
lot
Yeah,
of
we also
options.
use worm bins as well. Worm bins are really easy, and especially in the city, they take up a very little space, and they're very good.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Do we want to jump in and talk about some of these specific plants, and then we can cover some things with
Yeah,
those plants? Oh, so I'm trying to read this. It's kind of hard to read
yeah.
on my phone.
So another weed question. I know we have a lot of people dealing with weeds just like us. So
Yeah.
she has crabgrass coming in from the sides and taking over, and is asking
Yep.
about vinegar.
Vinegar will work too. That's going to be more expensive in my mind than using my propane torch. So that's the way I handle crabgrass is I'm just torching that everywhere, but it definitely is a nemesis. Um, Now it's not too hard to pull up at least, like because it has that really like thick stalk in the middle that everything branches off from. So if you just get like a little, I've got like this little 4-tine little here. We got it right here. This thing. So I just stab it with that and pull it up, and it comes up really quick. So it's one of the least annoying of the weeds to have to pull. But vinegar would work. It's just like if you're dealing with like a large scale, that's going to probably cost a bunch, and the fire works pretty well on that. So that's how I handle it, at least.
Okay. So I do want to mention too, if you are not planning on using all of your garden space this fall or winter time, it would definitely be a really good idea to be planting out some cover crops. So what I mean by that is just something to be taking over the garden space while you're not using it. It helps to do a whole bunch of things. I mean, it'll help bring life, organic matter into the soil. A lot of these will help to bring in like nitrogen to your soil while you're not using it. It'll help break up compact soil. I mean, there's so many benefits to using cover crops. So anytime that we're not using soil or using a smart pot or using a raised bed over the winter time, we always try to pop in some cover crops. Do you have anything to add to cover crops?
I was trying to figure out how to make my screen get bigger for a second. Um, some of these cover crops, especially, are can be useful because you can also eat them, like peas, mustard, radish. I guess technically all of these you can eventually eat. Those ones are simple though. Mustard can also have some added benefits of helping to get rid of pests in the soil.
And
Mustard has some
diseases
nat
too. Yeah.
Yeah, mustard has some natural properties that help eliminate that stuff from your garden. So it's a great cover crop to grow. If you like mustard at all, like you got to grow mustard greens because you can basically just take a couple leaves off of the mustard plant, put it on like a burger or a sandwich, and it tastes just like you put mustard on there. Plus, you're getting a ton of health benefits. So if you like mustard, then you've got to try out some mustard greens. But
And
cover crops are definitely.
I did want to call out this QR code that I just popped up on the screen too, because this is something new that Parkseed has. It's awesome. It's a mixture of a bunch of different cover crops together in a seed packet, and I thought it was awesome. And I had to include that today because I was like, "Oh, this is so amazing! You get all of the benefits of all. You don't have to get like each specific one. It's just a mixture." Yeah, I thought it was great, so I wanted to make sure I included that.
But cover crops are definitely worth doing if you're not going to be growing in that bed, or else you're going to have weeds that come up, and you're going to have weeds as cover crops, and they're not going to be as friendly to deal with in the spring as all of these things are going to be. Peas are also a great thing to start with because one, they're easy to grow, and two, they're going to add nitrogen to the soil for what you plant in the spring. Peas are one of the few plants. Well, clover is in the same category on here as well, where they can take nitrogen out of the air and store it in the soil. So then the next crop that comes behind them is able to use that. So those are great cover crops to use if you're looking for something to start with. And like you can kind of basically grow them as microgreens outside and harvest from them as they're growing. And then, the peas, like you might even get some peas off of it before we hit winter. So Yeah.
Is there a specific type of peas that we should recommend?
I know whenever like I've gone down the rabbit hole of researching this, it seems like the consensus are the Austrian peas. It's been a bit. I don't know the specific variety. Um, I'd have to Google it. And I'd have to chat with Growbot about it. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say for the
um,
most, I mean, we generally just use whatever pea seeds we have lying around. So
yeah, that we always have like extra peas or something that
yeah,
I'm using. So I'm just trying to use up the last of our peas for the year. Like,
yeah.
there's a number of ways you can get rid of them. You can just cut them down in the spring and kind of work the roots in. Um, what we're going to do is build. We're going to take our PVC hoop houses that we've got here and put chicken netting over one of them and put them over the beds and put a couple chickens in there. So if you have chickens, that's a great way to get your bed turned over to feed your chickens, and the chickens will fertilize it. Well, it's a great deal for everybody. So um, we're going to be doing a lot of that with our cover crops. I've also seen people plop a lawnmower up on top of their bed and mow it down. Um, so
Yeah, you can
yeah,
really just do it in and yeah, just work it into your soil.
and you're going to want to do that like a week or two before you're going to plant your other stuff, because it's going to take a little bit for that stuff to start like breaking down and all that.
I had to pop this one up. That's very true. That is very true, Michelle. So I
You
do
know what I
love
will
mustard though. It's very pretty, but I won't eat it.
Here's what I will say though. When I met Carrie, she hated pickles as much as she hates mustard. And she now loves pickled peppers, and she actually tried a pickled cucumber. She made a face when she ate it. She probably won't eat another one, but she actually did eat a
I
pickled
did.
cucumber.
So it
So
yes, it wasn't nearly as bad as the store-bought ones. And I will say that. Like I don't know. I just think pickling cucumber I love the taste of cucumbers. And then when you pickle it, it makes them taste different to me. And I'm like, I don't love that. But it wasn't nearly as bad. It was tolerable at least. So
I got to mention again too, for our for people that live in the city, the cover crop strategy I was talking about with the chickens, you could also do with rabbits. We've done that in the past where we just put like a little fence around a garden to keep the rabbit in there, and it went through and ate out everything. So if you're not able to have chickens, you should be able to at least have a rabbit, and it could be a little garden helper for you.
I love it. Okay. So many questions. I'm sorry. There's so many questions. I'm hopefully we'll have time to come back to all of these as well. But let's talk a little bit about some of the plants that we are going to be growing this September, and that pretty much everybody, no matter where you guys are, can be starting these now or later in the month. Like it's time for all of these. So the first thing is leafy greens. Like I know Dale's already mentioned how excited we are for fall, especially for the leafy greens. Things like the spinach and for me the Swiss chard. I love growing Swiss chard, especially in the fall, because it makes it taste like sweeter and oh, it's just so good. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I always say like you can plant all of these things now. But if you are in like the warmer zones, so like 8 through 10 or something like Texas, Florida, you might want to give these ones a little bit of like afternoon shade whenever you're planting them out. But besides that, like you should be able to plant these now or very, very soon.
I want to encourage you too to think about leafy greens maybe a little different than you have. If you're just getting into gardening, whenever we first got into gardening, I thought about leafy greens as like, okay, well, I can make a salad from it. And I didn't really think beyond the ways that we could use them. And I think our favorite way to use leafy greens now are to grow the really big spinach leaves. The Imperial Star variety is one of them. There's a number of varieties that we have in our store that get really big, and they are great for tortilla replacements. And that's one of my favorite things to do is just take like a big spinach leaf and then stuff it full of some mixed chicken and pico and guacamole, and it is so good. Or salmon or whatever meat you want to put in there. If you just want to keep it vegetarian, like you can do whatever you want with it. But you know, whenever we first started growing stuff, I thought about the salad as being, like I said, a bunch of little individual leaves you threw together in the salad mix. But it can be so much more than that. And like Swiss chard, like she mentioned, is another one that produces a really big leaf that you can you can use. And Swiss chard is actually one that will grow through the summer. We have some in our garden right now. Now it's not going to taste very good right this moment because it's going to taste better as it gets cooler. I know Michelle, I saw she said, don't make us hungry again. I'm getting really hungry talking about it because I actually have some of this like in the fridge right now I could go make. So as soon as this live stream is over, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, and also the thing I'll say too about greens is they're going to taste so different than you've ever had before, unless you've grown them before or had like fresh stuff before, because the stuff that you get from the grocery store looks like fake spinach compared to real spinach. The way that like fake money compares to like real money when you buy it
Well,
from
and
the
it
store,
just
it's
has
kind of the
no flavor at all whenever you buy it from the
yeah,
grocery store. But if you
and
grow it,
there's
it
no
just
texture.
tastes so much different. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all thin and stuff. But if you like when you grow it in your garden, you're gonna have these like really thick leaves that are just full of texture and flavor, and they're all gonna be a little bit different. And this is why we like obsess over spinach varieties and we kind of collect all the different ones because they're all so useful in the different ways. And if you're someone that's growing for health reasons, spinach is a big reason as a big thing you can add into your diet to help, especially if you struggle with things like anxiety and depression, like I do. It's full of magnesium, which can help regulate some of that stuff and just help kind of. It just helps me. So, so that's the case I'm making for spinach. So, and for
We're
the other
getting
leafy greens too, but spinach is the big one for me. So,
Yeah, I will say I loved lettuce. Like we actually had an entire grow tower filled with different varieties of lettuce. It was so much fun just to see like how different they all looked and tasted. Like we just went down the line and we're like testing each one and seeing what our favorites were. And we had a lot, like there was a lot of really great varieties of lettuce too that I loved.
yeah, that's a great way to start. Is like with one of those grow towers. The green stalk tower is the one that we like the most. I think it's the best value for your money for what you get out of those. And we've got 4 or 5 of them now at this point. And having one full of lettuce was just so cool because
Yeah.
you could just walk out there and harvest like right off your porch. And it did awesome too. Like it was one of our most successful things that we've done in those towers is lettuce, and it works really well with the biodome because the plugs just insert right into the little pockets that you've
Yeah, I
got
was gonna say I should have
on
brought
the
that
green
biodome
stalk.
out because I have a biodome right now started with a bunch of different varieties of lettuce just for that reason again because we're gonna do a grow tower full of lettuce again.
Mhm. Well, maybe I'll do the next one from our pantry where our lettuce is started, and I'll just do the live stream from it. Okay. Well,
Okay,
let's what we got next on the list. Do a time check.
so next we're gonna talk about brassicas. So this is gonna include things like I know we already kind of touched on kale, but broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and bok choy and all of these things. So these are ones. So I actually started a lot of these indoors here for our zone because it has been way too hot for me to start them outside. So I started a lot of these indoors this last month. So I'm going to be transplanting a lot of these outdoors this month. Um, yeah, my some of my favorites are the sprouting broccoli, and those ones will be a little faster harvest too. So if you didn't quite get around to starting your seeds indoors yet, you can always get one of those sprouting broccolis out that are um, just a lot faster.
Yeah, and I'll make the case for broccoli now. I feel like I'm just going to make a case for each plant and why you should grow it. But again with broccoli, when we first started growing food, I thought of broccoli as being like what you saw from the grocery store, that little, well, that big like green thing that looked like a tree, right? Like that's how I always thought of broccoli. But these other varieties have really changed my thinking on it. So these ones that make a bunch of little side shoots, um, they taste so much better, and they're so much easier to grow because you don't have to wait for one giant head of broccoli to form. It's going to form a bunch of side shoots that you can start harvesting much quicker. They have way more flavor to them, especially the Asperbrock variety. Like it's just kind of a darker green, and I feel like you get more flavor out of it. Like, oh, I'm getting so hungry. I want that Asperbrock broccoli so bad right now. Um,
Pretty
Yeah,
soon.
so that's the thing I'm looking most forward to on this list, um, aside from the mustard, because mustard's in this family too. So bok choy is like an Asian cabbage, and what we do with it. So that's another one of the things that we'll use it as a tortilla replacement if we have to, but I don't like it as much for that. But it will work for that. I like using spinach more for that. But we're using it a lot in stir fries. Like I chop it up and put it in stir fries, kind of at the very end. And any type of soup that we're making, it's really good. Um, Carrie, there's two hummingbirds out here right now. You'd be so jealous to see them.
Oh my
She
gosh.
freaks
I
out every
love
time there's a hummingbird.
Oh, I
Sorry, I
do.
got
I freak out
distracted.
when you see me.
Oh, they're chasing around the garden. Cool.
Oh.
Um, Sorry, what was I talking? I get distracted. I'm sorry.
Bok choy.
Bok choy. Um, yeah, so it's really nice to grow. I prefer bok choy and other Asian cabbages like Napa cabbages over growing a full size cabbage head for the same reasons I feel about broccoli, because sometimes it can be difficult to get a full size cabbage to grow all the way without dealing with pests or hailstorms or chickens attacking it or all the other things we deal with here on this farm. So I just much rather have a lettuce, a cabbage variety that spits out a bunch of leaves starting at like day
Yeah,
48 or
bok
whatever it is.
choy. No, bok choy is actually like 30 days on
Is
some
it?
varieties.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are
The
some
toy
varieties.
choy.
Yeah, you can start
Hmm.
harvesting like within a month. It's crazy. So yeah, that's definitely something that is a great addition to your garden
Yeah,
for
and it
sure.
is good for like those little like not like spring roll type wrap things we'll make. Like we'll do some like fried rice and salmon and put them in there, and like, oh, that's really good too. I see a question from Julia. Oh, you popped it up already. Cool.
Yep.
Um, so yes, it can definitely be difficult in the spring. There is a really easy solution though. There's a spray called BTK that is organic, that you can spray on your brassicas, and it kills any caterpillar that eats it. It's not poison or anything like that. It's just a bacteria that caterpillars can't eat. Is basically all is the easiest way to explain it. And you can just spray that on your plants. You can also, like, we have these PVC hoop houses, like you see behind me here. There's nothing on it right now, but there's insect netting on it in the spring, because that makes it to where the bugs have a much harder time getting into there. And I will say in the fall, you're going to have way fewer pest issues, especially once we start to hit our first freeze. The pests will go away. That's one of the big advantages of growing in the fall, is you don't have to deal with near as many pests. So, but even in the spring, it's manageable. It's not something like squash bugs where like it's a heck of a fight to fight them off. The pests or brassicas are all pretty simple.
Okay. Peas. Yes. So, oh my gosh, I love, love, love peas. And peas like never make it into the house, unfortunately. We can never plant enough peas because we are just always out there and we just pull them and eat them like immediately right off the vine. They're so good. Us and the kids. Kids will just go out there and start pulling them and just eating. They're so good. Even the 2-year old and the 9-year old, even the picky eaters. It's a big fan. But peas are something that you'll want to be planting along a trellis. And if you want to show us one of the
Yeah.
areas where you plant peas, we're going to be planting a lot of peas.
So here's
For
our pea and bean tower that we have. This is in our store. And this is really cool. It's just this metal support structure that you run twine through, and then the beans grow up the twine, or beans or peas. It works for both. And then we also have these cattle panels here. And we just put T-posts in the ground next to each raised bed, and then attach the cattle panel. You can use zip ties, or I've got some of this like metal wire around. And this is what we use as a trellis. Right now we've got tomatoes and cucumbers on it. But soon we will have peas on it. So see some little baby cucumbers we've got here. But right here in this spot, I see a spot for peas right there. And then we've got this whole wall here that still dealing with some weeds on, as you can tell. And then another thing that we like to grow on are these arches here. So these are, again, cattle panels that we just arch over, stake into the ground. And then right now, these are tomatillos that are growing up on them. And then beans over here that are starting to dry on the vine. So we're going to have dried beans from there. And that's where we'll grow our peas too, or up these trellises.
Nice. Yeah, so peas are something that we are going to be planting like right now. I feel like I'm going to be planting them out. I'm excited. Um, so pretty much as soon as the temperatures start dropping, we switch from the beans over to the peas, and we just switch gears over to that. Here I saw a few questions about our. Okay, what's the diameter of that bean tower at the base?
Um,
Yeah,
Hold on.
yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly.
Get it in here. So this is like the top frame. It's about 2 feet diameter probably across.
Okay, this is a great one. Have you tried growing peas in a green sock? So we haven't actually done peas in a green sock yet. We tried beans. Um,
Yep,
so I mean, same idea. It should do good. And there are like smaller versions. Like there's patio versions of peas that Park Seed carries that would be terrific for that. So I would definitely recommend getting like one of those smaller ones, like the patio varieties that Park Seed has.
absolutely. The beans were growing great in ours until the goats broke out and ate them. So, but they were growing great.
Yes. Okay, sorry. I got behind on comments over here. I'm catching up. Okay.
Hard, isn't it?
It is hard because I get distracted and then I'm talking to you and I'm watching you and then I'm like, "Oh no, I forgot about the chat." Okay. Okay, we'll come back. Oh,
Question from
this,
Julia. Yeah,
this was what I wanted to cover. That's right. Yes.
yeah. So we try and rotate things so that they're never like things of the same family are never grown in the exact same spot. So ideally, I'm gonna follow like a tomato with a pea, or or a squash with a pea, or put it before. I'm not gonna follow like a bean with a pea or something like that. So we're trying to rotate around so that we don't always have the same things growing in the same spot. Um, beans and peas aren't as big of an issue with that, because they don't really have a ton of disease issues, at least we've had. But it definitely helps to rotate around. So that's what I would do is just think about what you want to grow after that. Like put them in spots where you want to have either a tomato next spring or something like that. That way the peas will help add nitrogen to the fertilizer for the tomato that's going to follow behind it next year.
So we did have a good question from Denise. She was wondering if it's too late to put one more round of bush beans out in zone 7A.
We have to see the app on the dates. I'm not
I know, I'm
sure.
pulling up our app because we're
Um,
close to that.
what does it say for us?
I'm looking. Let's see.
There may be some varieties that are like I would find the varieties that are fastest. If you go into the app and you go to the shop section for beans, you can sort by days to harvest, and you can see the ones that are fastest to harvest.
Yeah,
So
so for us, it says the last date was actually last week.
I mean, but I'm always going to gamble and push it. If it's me, I'm trying it.
Yeah.
And then just know that you might have to throw some sort of like a covering over it, the last week or something. Um, but I'm always going to at least try it. But the thing about beans and peas is like I'm pretty quick. Just like if it's a trellis, I'm just going to switch over to peas. And there are bush peas you can grow as well. So, but we're
And
still like we're right on the edge of being able to plant peas right now here where we are.
yeah, and Denise, I will say too, if you don't already have the From Seed to Spoon app, make sure you download it because it'll give you exact planting dates and it'll pull it from your location. So it'll pull up your closest weather station and what your expected frost dates are. So that'll have your exact dates. So it's not, you don't have to guess or anything about that.
I pulled this question up from Mary. So yes, peas like the cold. So they're going to survive even after it freezes. They're going to be fine with it, and it's going to make them taste better. So they're different. That's the nice thing about peas is they're similar to beans except they like the cold. So that's why we rotate back to peas once it starts to get to that fall time.
Okay, next, root crops. So I punched these together. So this applies for pretty much like all of our carrots, radish, turnips, parsnips, which I love. One of my new favorites. Yeah, all of those are encompassed here. So now is the time to get all of these root crops in the ground too. And if you haven't seen, I wish I would have popped up a picture. I might still have one from last week of these. The So Effortless. It doesn't look like it has the image. Ah, man. Oh well. But you should check out the So Effortless collection from Park Seed because they have these tapes that make it super easy to plant because especially for the carrots, those seeds are so tiny and the little seed tape just makes it so much simpler to plant and so easier, especially if you have kids or anything. Like it just makes it a lot simpler to go about planting them. They're already spaced out for you perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, seed tape is a game changer for us. I do
Hmm.
not have the patience or the fingers for carrot seeds. Like they're just like I don't
Yeah,
like
if
dealing
you
with them.
plant too many, you have to go through and thin them down so they don't grow into each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Now on like things like beets and stuff, like I'm still just gonna plant regular seeds on those because the seeds are big enough. But especially on carrots, oh my gosh, it's a game changer. And like
Yeah.
Carrie said, try was it parsnips or turnips? I always it's parsnips.
Parsnips.
Yeah, try out some parsnips. We tried them for the first time recently and absolutely loved them. We feel like we've been missing out on them, and
Yeah.
they're yeah. It's kind of like for me, it was like a mix between a potato and a carrot, and kind of like the texture of it and how we cooked it and how it tasted. It was really nice. So we're gonna be growing a lot more of those, and definitely
Yay.
some rainbow carrots.
Oh, for sure, rainbow carrots. That's our favorite one. It is my favorite one, and the kids. It's just so fun to grow all sorts of different colors of carrots. I mean, especially when the purple ones pop up, the kids get so excited. They're so much fun, and they're so great to eat. I love it.
And from a nutritional standpoint, you're getting a variety of nutrients and all of that going on too, because every color comes with a different nutrient. So that's one of the reasons we love to do all these mixed colors of different varieties and stuff.
So I wanted to address this. So there's two questions that apply to the same thing. So Mary was asking about what vegetable I was talking about last week that tastes between potatoes and carrots, and somebody asking about parsnips, what they tasted like. So yes, so parsnips are amazing, and yes, parsnips actually. I would not say that they taste super similar to beets because I'm not a huge fan of beets myself, but I love the taste of parsnips. They're less I don't know, earthy to me. I feel like beets have kind of like I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, I feel like parsnips are more like potatoes and carrots mixed it. Like it's really good.
Okay. Let me give one tip on growing root crops this time of year, because if you're trying to plant them now, you may be dealing with having the seeds dry out. And the biggest issue people have with growing carrots is them not germinating because the seeds dry out, because it can take 2 to 3 weeks for them to germinate. So what we do is we'll plant our seeds. We use seed tape, like I mentioned, water it in really well, and then cover that with burlap, and then come back and check it every day. Then once they start to sprout, then we'll take the burlap off. But it really helps hold in the moisture and really helps with germination rates and stuff like that on carrots.
Okay, I just did a time check and whew, we're running behind, so I'm gonna try to like whiz through some of the last ones here so we can still leave room for more questions. Um, so garlic, yes. So if you have not planted garlic yet or haven't shopped for your garlic yet, definitely do that now. They're all on sale right now at Park Seed as well, and you can get all of them through the app too. Um, and also, if you are a yearly subscriber, you get free shipping on it too. So check that out. But anyways, garlic, you need to be getting that into the ground this fall before you have your freezes, because it will need to have this winter cold in order to thrive and do well, for those bulbs to develop. Okay. You have anything to add about garlic, or can I whiz through?
Elephant garlic isn't real garlic, but it might as well be, and it's my favorite type of garlic to grow. It's technically an onion, but anyway, order some elephant garlic because it's way easier to deal with. Instead of having a bunch of these tiny garlic cloves you got to peel, you just have a giant clove to peel, and I'm all about being efficient. And it's more of a mild flavor, and it's just really good. So grow some elephant garlic
Yeah,
is
and
what I'll add.
I mean, we use a lot of garlic at once, so we pretty much always need to have a whole bunch of garlic. Well, this is interesting. I haven't seen black garlic before. I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't seen black garlic, but I know they have like red garlic. I know there's purple garlic because I love everything purple. I know that that's for sure there. Um, but yeah, they have a lot of different varieties. So check them out. I'm sure you'll find something.
We're gonna order one of each, so we'll let you know.
And then I did want to mention too, if you are wanting to have those really beautiful, big, huge bulb blooms in the spring, though now is a good time to plant those out as well. So they're just like garlic. They need to have that winter cool air to be able to have really pretty flowers and bloom well for you in the spring.
So which ones are your favorites that you'd recommend for people?
Um, so dahlias, I love. They're huge and beautiful. I mean, really everything. Um, yeah.
Lilies,
What?
the lilies and daylilies and all that.
Yeah, like the stargazer lilies, I love. Those ones are probably another one of my favorites. I like all of those, but I mean, there's a lot of them. Daffodils are really pretty. Tulips, of course. I mean,
If you
all
want to get into flowers too, it's like a really easy way to get in because they're going to come back every year. So that's a nice thing about planting bulbs.
yeah. Ooh, iris. Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Okay. Chives. Yes. So I have to include chives because chives is amazing. We use chives on everything that we possibly can whenever we have enough. And I feel like we never can have enough. Even though chives, like they come back every single year for us. And they will spread too and take over. So it's amazing. But they are something that we grow, we love to eat, and even these little purple flowers are edible too, and they taste really good also. So I use those in cooking too. But those will also help to bring in like all sorts of pollinators, and these are also really good companion plants. I mean, chives have so many benefits to them. Love it.
Hey, one thing, let me circle back on the bulbs.
Yeah.
You want to check the bulbs to make sure that they're hardy in your zone. So before you plant any bulbs or buy any bulbs, just make sure that they're hardy in your zone because there are differences as far as what can survive over the winter in different places. So just
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
throw that disclaimer out there.
that is very true. Yes. So it's not every single one. It's going to be like specific ones that you will be going and planting out.
But on the park website, you can go in there and you can put your zip code and it'll calculate what your zone is and it'll show you if it's compatible with your zone or not.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's a great way to shop too because you can just enter your zip code and it'll tell you exactly what plants you can be growing. Okay, and cilantro. I know some people, cilantro is either a love it or hate it, but I love it. It's perfect, especially for starting right now because we still have tomatoes left, so we can add it into like some salsas and things like that. So now is the perfect time for cilantro. If it is still too hot for you, maybe give it a little bit of some afternoon shade, things like that, in order to get it germinated and all that before it gets a little colder.
Yeah, I love cilantro in the fall. It tastes sweeter as it gets colder, like a lot of the other things we've talked about. A lot of times it'll survive all winter here on its own. We have cilantro growing as a weed throughout the winter here.
I
So
know. Yeah.
And
And it,
another thing I'll say about cilantro is if you let it go to seed and you harvest the seeds when they're like just developing, they taste so good, and it adds a little bit of like a crunch that you can throw into like a wrap or something that has a cilantro flavor. And also, cilantro microgreens are our favorite microgreens, so we grow them year round indoors. We've got a tray of them right now over there in the pantry where we have our seed starting area set up.
okay. And then parsley, I did want to mention parsley too. Parsley is another one that I feel like is underrated, but it can do really well with a light frost as well. So if you're looking to add more herbs into your garden, and then calendula, of course, if you guys have been following us for a little bit, you know that I am obsessed with calendula now after growing it this year. It's been my first time growing it from seed, and I've absolutely loved it. It has so many benefits. I mean, between like the fact that it's actually edible and it makes an amazing companion plant, it's gorgeous. I mean, there's so many benefits to it. And then pansies, of course. I feel like everybody always thinks about pansies whenever they think cool season flowers. And one of the great things about pansies, besides how cold hardy they are, is that they're actually edible too. Like, I haven't eaten them myself. So if anybody has, I want to hear about it. But I know that they are actually edible, and they're supposed to be almost like a sweet flavor because people talked about adding them into like garnishes and like adding them on top of like salads and desserts even, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool, we need to do that. Okay, last one. I know I've whizzed through these last ones, I'm sorry. um Berries. So now, especially if you guys are going to be doing any like berry bushes, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, even strawberries, like bare root strawberries, things like that. Um, Fall is a really good time to get them started. Now, you're not going to get a harvest from them right away, of course, but it will really help them out to get a root structure set in place before it starts to produce for you. So it really helps to give it a really strong foundation, get it started for next year. Okay, did I miss anything? I like ran through that. Whew.
No, I'll
Five.
give one more shout out to other herbs, just in general, like rosemary and sage and oregano. Now is a great time to get them started. And the same reason for berries, because they're going to get their roots settled over the winter, and then you'll get a bunch in the spring. So,
Yes. Okay. So, my goodness, I know we have quite a few questions real quick. Do you want to do a couple questions before we announce the winner or
yeah, let's do a couple. We'll announce the winner, and then we can hang out after for anyone that wants to hang out with us for a little bit, and we'll get through as many questions as we can.
okay. I'll pop up this one right here. This is a great question. Asking if all of the things that we talked about today can be grown in grow bags.
Yes. So all of these can be grown in smart pots. And if you go to a plant detailed screen in our app, we have a section on there that tells you the recommended size of smart pot that we recommend for them. For a lot of the lettuces, we're growing those in the round raised beds, like the big round raised beds that they have. They have 4 foot ones and 3 foot ones. And then a lot of the like broccolis and stuff like that, we're going to do in the individual size smart pots. But you can really do it however you want. But that's typically how we're growing it. And like I said, all that's in the plant detail screen in the app for each plant.
So, speaking here about grow bags and smart pots, she says this is her first year with smart pots. What do we do with them over the winter?
So you could either leave them outside and grow something in them. So things like spinach and kale will survive the winter in a lot of places. We've grown them throughout the winter in smart pots in them plenty of times. You could put a cover crop in them if you want. Um, you could also empty them out and bring them inside and wash them. Don't put them in the dryer, but you can put them in the wash if you want to kind of hold them till next spring. We have hundreds of smart pots out, so we leave ours out and we try to either grow stuff in them that survives over the winter or grow a cover crop in them. or some of them just kind of sit there till the spring. So that's what we do with them. They'll definitely last longer if you bring them in over the winter if you're not going to be using them, but I don't have time for that, and I have way too many to be trying to do that with. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Let me pop this question up real quick. So CJ wanted to know, once seedlings sprout in the biodome, do you transplant with a sponge around them? And I actually have a biodome back here that I can show you real quick. So this is the biodome right here, and we have a bunch of our kitchen minis that I'm actually starting right now. I have a bunch of tomatoes and peppers that we're going to be growing all year round. So these are our winter batch. I'm excited because we wanted to have a whole bunch of these inside. But so what you do to transplant them, on the bottom of these, there's holes down here. You simply just push it up, and there you go. You can see the roots are starting to come out already. Like, this is ready for transplant right here. So right here, you just pop this into the ground. Super easy transplanting. It's like the easiest thing ever. Yeah, that's really all you do. So yes, you take the sponge and all and plant those out.
let's plant those things. I'm excited.
I know, right? I popped that out. I'm like, look at all those roots. That looks so good. I saw one more question about the biodome real quick, and then we'll announce the winner. So we have actually tried it without the sponges. And I mean, it works, but it was not nearly the experience that we had with these. Like, these are just make so much simpler, like, especially for transplanting, just popping these out. I mean, it worked with the soil, but I would highly recommend the sponges. It was way better.
And another thing I'll say too is one of the big benefits of the sponges is that they don't have any contaminants in them. So you're not going to be dealing with a bunch of issues with mold and all that. At least it shouldn't be. Once you introduce anything else into the mix, now you're going to start dealing with that kind of stuff. And one of the big benefits of using the biodome is that if you're either buying new sponges or if you're sanitizing everything correctly, you're not going to be having any issues with that type of stuff.
Yep. Okay. Well, with 1 minute left to go, I'm going to pull up the winner here. Congratulations, Julia Cruz. Congrats. I did see your name pop up several times. Um, Thank you so much for commenting. So Julia, congratulations. You've won the 1 year free premium from Seed to Spoon app subscription, which is awesome. So you're going to have here, let me go back to that. Let's see if I can just go back to that slide that shows everything right here. So you now have the unlimited plant identification, bug identification, plant health checks. You get free shipping on all your orders, so you can get all your garlic in. You also can log unlimited plants now in your garden, and you will see, like, I could go on and on. I really could. I don't have to read all these, but lots of benefits. Congratulations, Julia, and thank you for joining us. Okay.
All right. Before we jump into these questions, I just want to give a little bit of a teaser. We are so close to having a demo ready to show you the new garden planning feature that we've been working on. Patrick is the lead developer on this project, and he has just been absolutely kicking butt on it. It's been so exciting every morning to meet with him and see how it's coming along and talk through ideas. And before we get to the finish line on this thing, we want to show all of you and make sure we're building the right thing. So we want to finish up our first rough draft, if you will, get it into a demo state. I think we're going to be there this week. And then the next step for us is to show all of you what we've built, get feedback from you, and then decide from there if we're going to roll out what we got or if we need to make some adjustments. So that's how we've done this out from the beginning. We've used all of your feedback to help guide us along the way, and that's how we're going to do it this too. So be looking for another live stream, maybe even this week. I'm hoping maybe we could try it on Thursday. We'll see if we are ready by then, because I want it to be a good first effort that we put forth on showing you. But it's so cool, and it's going to allow you to visually lay out each one of your garden beds. It's going to show you good and bad companions. And And we're the way that we're incorporating this into the rest of the app, I think we'll just make the overall app more user friendly and easier to keep track of your gardens, which is the whole reason why we started this whole thing to begin with. So stay tuned for that. A lot more to come really soon, and maybe Thursday. So, do we have any other questions we want to talk about, or we need to
Um,
answer here?
I wanted to pop up this one really quick. So, Bonnie has a 6 month subscription and wants to upgrade to the year so she can get free shipping.
Yes,
So,
you should be able to do that from within the app. If it doesn't work for you or whatever, if you have any issues, just reach out to us. You can email us or Facebook us or Instagram. It all comes to us, so it doesn't really matter how you send it to us. Just message us if you have any issues with it, and we'll help you figure it out. But it should be really simple to do from within the app. But it's been a bit since I looked at that, so I don't know off the top of my head immediately how to do that. I think you just go into settings. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know off the top of my head.
yeah, if you have any problems, just reach out to us and we'll help you out. And Michelle, it sounds like here says yes, free shipping, totally worth it. I saw this. This is actually our winner today. So she's a beginner gardener and always thought spring and summer were the only times to plant. So,
Well, awesome. Great.
yeah, well, I'm so
That's
glad that you won and that you can hopefully start your first fall garden. Fall's my favorite time. So I'm excited for you.
and everybody out there, help us spread the word that fall is the best time to grow food. Like, help us spread the word about it because people just do not realize they can do it. Tell them about our app, and we'll help them out from there. So, but I think so many people miss out on the opportunity of growing food in the fall because they think it is just a spring or summer thing, and fall is just the best time to grow. So,
For
really
sure.
excited that Julia's gonna be trying it out, and yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, great. We will be here again next week, just like usual. We're here every single Tuesday, 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, chatting with you guys. It's always fun. But I look forward to chatting with you guys again here soon. And don't forget, too, that you guys can, after this goes off of this here, you can go back in, it'll post, and you can go back in and leave a comment and be entered to win again. And we will announce another winner at the beginning of next week. So you still have a chance to win for the 1 year premium subscription. So don't forget that. And yeah, we hope to see you again next week.
Bye, everyone.